How many here consider yourself someone who's bringing in the new world? Oh, I love this group. Totally. And then some of you are going like, double. Yeah, really. So one of the things, I've been an activist for decades. And in my first serious activism as an environmentalist, what I saw was that we had many, many successes. And the thing that sunk us more than anything was us. It was our personality conflicts, our power struggles, and that's where I learned in the trenches trying to save our group, which we did. We worked together. We had so many successes. This was in the Caribbean, and we had the powers that be actually staying out of our town because we would cause them trouble. Nonetheless, that's where I realized, man, I've got to get techniques. I got to get tools, because all of these personality conflicts, and we can't pull together. We're pulling against one another. So that's why I'm so inspired to give this material today, and I thank you all for being here, because clearly one person is not going to build the new earth. It's going to take all of us, and we have to work together. And when we do work together, it's so much fun. Because after all, we only want to create a new earth that's fun and pleasurable and sustainable and something we can really roll with. And that means we're going to face people that push our buttons. Guaranteed. Absolutely. And I've worked with communities before, too. I'm called in for mediation. And I'll, especially when people are starting a community, and I'll talk to them, well, what are your goals, and what are your, and they're like, oh, peace and love. And it's like, yeah, and what's your protocol for conflict resolution? Oh, no, we're going to just love one another. I'm like, okay, no humans in your community, right? It's only natural, because we are individuals, and we came up through a difficult system, that we don't have a full complement of tools for collaboration. So I really want to pull up this concept from the Chinese about conflict and how dangerous it feels. Because when we have to face somebody that we're disagreeing with, we are presented with the risk of offending them or losing their friendship or revealing too much about ourselves. So it's risky behavior. And the only way out of that is up. We must up-level the relationship. And so this is an opportunity. So I'd like you to just close your eyes for a minute. Think of a struggle you're in right now, or something difficult, or a personal relationship that's challenging. And if you can name in your mind, in a couple words, what is that challenge? And then I'd like you to think about what opportunity is it presenting you. Okay, you can open your eyes. And we're just going to do this popcorn style. What challenge did you think of, and what opportunity do you have?
Authenticity. And also the takeaway from it is also authenticity.
It's a challenge and the opportunity, yes.
Misunderstanding and clarity.
Beautiful.
Inability to have a discourse that isn't argumentative. I haven't found a way to broach that.
And what's the opportunity in that?
the opportunity is to figure it out, is to learn and move forward.
Beautiful.
Avoidance and the opportunity to respect someone's boundaries.
So. Okay. Anyone else before we move on?
Reaction, reactiveness, being triggered, and learning to breathe and overcome that.
Yes, that opens up into acceptance and response, the ability to respond. Yes, from reactivity to response ability. Great. Good. So today, we are going to work on skills to change those crises and dangerous situations into opportunities for growth and expansion. And so we're going to be going over several topics. One is self-love, and that includes self-talk. Because if you've ever heard yourself, it's like, you idiot, how could you do that again? It's like, where did I learn how to call myself an idiot, right? Well, you did learn from someplace. Also, this self-love through self-talk puts us in a right and wrong reaction. Well, I'm right, so they're obviously wrong. And then the next step in relationship is punishing. We have to punish what's wrong. So in self-love, we're going to be alert about that. We're going to be working with our EQ, our emotional quotient. Many of us here have very high IQs. And EQ was not emphasized in our society at all. In fact, deny your emotions. We're going to be working on listening, especially for you, Rafa, because it's your goal. Though none of us were, well, I can't say, unless you came from a really functional family, you probably weren't listened to and weren't modeled on how to listen. And we're going to work on communicating, how to express what the reality is. And all of this is in the context of what I call relational reality. Because we live in relationship to ourselves, to each other, and our environment. A lot of the dominator system, the word you're going to hear from me today, ignores that we're in relationship. It's like, we're king of the world. We can take all the resources. We can trample over other people. It doesn't matter because, hey, I'm king of the world, queen of the world. But in truth, human beings are relational. A baby is born. We're not hatched out of eggs. We actually know our parents. A child without touch dies. We are tribal. And that's why this pandemic is particularly damaging to human beings. We are meant to be together. And so today we're going to work on how can we be together. It's our nature. We were all raised with separation programming. We were told, this is a dog-eat-dog world. You got to claw your way to the top. You must be fiercely independent. You must be self-sufficient. Well, yeah, of course, yes, we must be self-sufficient within ourselves. We have to be independent to a certain extent. But we're in a relational reality. So all this separation programming was to keep us apart. It's a hyper-developed principle of agency. And Americans in particular were raised with this idea that I can, Horatio Alger, I can pull myself up by my bootstraps and I can become a financial tycoon and I can do it all myself and whoever I step on the way up doesn't matter. And this American idea we got that, hey, we can do it. We're self-reliant. and I actually am glad that I have self-reliance. Taken too far, it takes us out of relational reality, which then puts us into a false reality. So this masculine principle, the yang principle of autonomy, rights, self-preservation, very important. But without being balanced by the feminine of taking care, then we go into pathology. And we can look around and call our society a pathological society. I don't think it's a stretch. Just a quick, many of you know my work is in the masculine and feminine and sexuality and tantra. So this is a chart I put together in my tantra workshops just to give you a sense of how masculine and feminine is. And if you'll look at the words in red, those are the pathological aspects of the masculine and feminine. So what I was talking about, the yang gone too far, is the one that severs networks and is afraid of a relationship. And the feminine that goes too far loses his or her identity and is afraid of independence. So it can be, masculine and feminine are in both men and women. And what our society has done is emphasized the yang principle. Yes, we need autonomy and self-preservation and personhood and rights and skills, and we need to know how to do. Absolutely. And it must be balanced with, we must develop softness and relationship and species preservation and community and responsibilities and instincts and being. Some people call the system we're in the patriarchy because it's the hyperdeveloped masculine principle, but I don't use that word. Because, in general, I don't use that word. Because I think it has given the impression that men are the ones who've screwed everything up. The masculine principle has been overused, and that's what's screwing things up. Men and women are holding up the patriarchy. So the word I prefer to use is the dominator system. This is what we were raised in. And we're kind of like fish in water. So I'm going to now describe the water that we've been swimming in. You remember when Morpheus says to Neo in the Matrix, Neo, you were born a slave. And so we all were. Down here on the bottom, this system has been set up as a pyramid with controllers on the top and peons on the bottom. And we can argue later about where it came from. In my book, I go into my theory of how this all happened. Did it just sort of form that way, or? But in any case, this is how it is. This is the system that we're in. And you'll see that there's different levels that are insulated. They're hermetically sealed to a certain extent, so that every level has access to the higher level only on a need-to-know basis. And that's why, for example, the perpetrators of so many crimes against humanity, we don't know who they are. We know who's carrying them out. Soldiers are carrying them out. Politicians are carrying them out. But they're responding only within their level. They're taking orders from someone, because what keeps this thing together is fear. Fear of force and fear of punishment. Think of the family you were raised in. Maybe you came from a very loving, egalitarian family, and hallelujah, lucky you. But most people aren't. This system goes all the way into the family structure, where the father is repressing his emotions. He could be violent. He could be an alcoholic. The mother is the martyr. She's depressed. And that's how what kids are brought into. This is a trauma-based mind control system. Trauma is perpetrated in the form of war, as well as sexual abuse. Sexual abuse of children gives them a lot of bang for their buck. Pardon the pun. And I'm not going to say more about that. This is something else I often talk about in terms of sexual healing and the relationship between men and women. The point is to know that we were raised in this system. So as you can see, a system based on fear and force or the threat of force is not going to give us a lot of relational skills. Now, many of us have been devoting our lives to healing from trauma, healing from the lack of the things we needed. And we've come a long way, and I acknowledge that. And here you are, still in the process, because we know we're just going to keep learning and expanding and getting better and better. So I want to honor you for being here, because what you're doing here today isn't just for you. It's for the whole world and this new earth that we want to build.
Can you see what those levels are? I can't see from here.
Well, it's one breakdown of, in this, and there can be different breakdowns of it. In this person's interpretation, there's ignorant debt slaves on the bottom, human resource, labor above, government, media, religion, and education next, population control, corporations, financial control, global think tanks, families, ruling families, elites, and the Council of 13, and then somebody at the top. So
It doesn't say crown, does it?
it says Crown Council of 13. So this is what one person's investigation has uncovered. You could uncover other interpretations of this. The point is, this is the structure. Okay? All right. So, what are the tactics of domination? See if any of these sound familiar to you. Intimidation, bullying, withdrawing, victimhood, blaming, shaming, abusive anger. Anyone have any experience with those? Just checking. Okay, so this is what we've been overcoming in our adult lives, in our healing processes. The first thing that we've been doing, I'm speaking for all of us because I know most of you and I know we're all on the healing trail, is this healing process from the trauma-based mind control system. When I first got serious about my own healing, I was in my 20s, and I would notice that when I would get into a deep state, I would go to the mirror and I would say to the mirror, "You're okay. You're okay." And then I asked myself, why do I have to tell myself 100 times that I'm okay? Because my whole life I had been told I was not okay. And I mean, this was like years that I got to go through this, looking in my eyes saying, "You're okay." So, we are okay. I've reached the conclusion. We have a right to our feelings, our anger. We have a right to be entirely pissed off, okay? Yes, we have a right to our feelings. We have a responsibility to identify our feelings and to communicate them, not to vomit them onto the person in front of us. So we're going to be working with that today. But the main point here is you have a right to your feelings. We're going to be working with NVC today, and the thing I love, one of the many things I love about it, is that that's one of the main premises. Yes, you're angry. Here's the way to express your anger so that it doesn't hurt others. Abusive anger, no. And you have a right to justice. you have a right to be treated fairly. And the more we empower ourselves with that concept, the more we will be this self-autonomous cooperative society that won't take the abuse and repression coming from the dominator system. So self-knowledge is important to have. So we have to know who we are. Aside from being okay, what kind of people are we? Quick, tell me, what's your sign?
Sagittarius.
Pisces. Gemini.
Sagittarius.
Yeah, Taurus. So that's one system that we use to say, like when I say, hey, I'm a Taurus, you can go, oh, okay. That explains a lot of things. All the stuff in my house, for one thing. But there's many systems. There's the Enneagram. There's human design. Oh, I just want to say what we're headed toward is a partnership culture. So the dominator system, if you look at the culture we were raised in, a dominator culture uses power over, partnership uses power with. Dominator culture is hierarchical, that pyramid. Partnership culture is egalitarian. Dominator culture uses fear and force. Partnership culture uses mutual respect. Dominator culture ranks differences. I'm better than you, I have more money, I have more status, I'm white, I'm blah, blah, whatever. And partnership culture is looking for linking connections. The dominator system uses an authoritarian social and family structure. A partnership culture uses democratic ideals and structure, but beyond democratic, I would just put it into the word partnership. The dominator system has normalized violence and abuse. I don't know about you all, but look what's on Netflix. Look what's on the news. It's like, it's normal. No, this is abnormal. This is pathological. What the children are watching. And video games. Yeah. The partnership culture is anti-violence, pro-empathy. We're going to be working with empathy today. The dominator culture focuses on the word. The partnership culture focuses on the image. The dominator culture is that hyper-developed left brain, or so-called masculine, and the partnership culture wants to develop more the right brain, or feminine. Okay. You with me so far?
Yeah.
This dominator culture sound a little bit familiar? Yeah. So we're building a new world. We're in the new earth. So we are stepping up our game. I want to go into emotional intelligence now. I like this presentation of emotions. I'm going to be passing out a list of emotions. Of course, that's very linear, but I like this more right brain depiction of it as this blooming flower of emotions that we have. And you'll notice that, for example, this is a light version of this purple petal, boredom. It more intense, it becomes disgust, and more intense, it becomes loathing. So we have a huge menu of emotions. And that's why I'm going to be passing out the list, because we want to be able to articulate exactly how we feel. And you'll notice the way they put the petals together. For example, where disgust meets anger, it becomes contempt. Or where anger meets anticipation or interest, it becomes aggressiveness. So we have a great spectrum of emotions that are available to us. And remember, we have a right to our emotions. We have a right to express all of these, as long as we're not damaging someone else in the process. And I like this because it shows how it can spiral. So we can go on the upward spiral, from being content to hopeful to optimistic, positive expectation, enthusiasm, passion, all the way up to joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation. Or we can get on a downward spiral. Anyone here been depressed? You know how you get swallowed up by depression. What starts with either boredom or pessimism or frustration or irritation or impatience can go down to being overwhelmed, disappointed, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, hatred, rage, jealousy, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, fear, grief, depression, powerlessness, victim. Now, look at the cultural structures we have. If the dominator system is based on dominators and victims, and it's based on power over, then the dominator system will encourage the downward spiral. Through the food, through the lifestyles choices, through the kind of air they have people breathing or not breathing behind a mask. It's to bring us down to victim. Because, and whether or not, some people may go, well, it's a conspiracy theory. But whether or not it's conscious or unconscious, the people holding up the dominator system, all of us, have been trained to get people down into victim. And when we are in an argument with somebody, we want to make them wrong, we want to punish them, we want them down in the victim. It's our programming. Because victims are manipulatable. I don't have power, I can't do it, I'm just a victim, whatever. It's the environmental crisis is too big, I can't do anything. Well, victims are going to just keep us down at the base of the pyramid. And all of us here, self-acclaimed activists, are building a new earth. So we are proactive. So I'm just looking at I'm looking at the emotional component of when we get down. I'm not saying don't feel sadness. Of course feel sadness. We have to feel all of our feelings. And notice what's coming into you from the culture to put you down. Anger. I want to give anger a special note. And I finally found a graphic that describes the way I see anger. Because when we're in an argument with somebody, that's generally the first emotion coming up. Anger, taking offense, storming off, whatever. But anger always covers something else. So the anger iceberg is a perfect way. I mean, if you look at the words down here, what's going on underneath there? Embarrassed, tricked, overwhelmed, stressed, grumpy, rejected, nervous, exhausted, offended, unsure, disappointed, uncomfortable, regret, worried, hurt, guilt, shame. So when I'm in a mediation or couples counseling, when anger's coming up, I'm like, good, okay, this is the first layer. So we need to get the anger layer off. Now, what's really going on? Because in a dominator system, we have to defend ourselves. So anger's a good way to push somebody away. So you don't see what's really going on in my vulnerable, where I'm really hurting because of this event. So that's the thing about anger. And I'm going to go back here for a minute. Emotions, this is why emotions are so important. Emotions communicate wisdom from the subconscious. When we have gut feelings or intuition, that is coming from inside. So emotions are like our early warning system or our inner compass, our internal navigation system. The conscious mind can only process 3 to 4 new pieces of information at a time, because we only have X amount of working memory. The unconscious mind is capable of processing millions of bits of data without getting overwhelmed. Millions of bits of data. Not just what's happening right now, but what's happening energetically, how this fits in with my past lives, where this fits in karmically, what's happening, I can perceive, EMF, right? The subconscious mind is taking in all this information, but it can't get it to us because our conscious mind can only do 3 or 4 bits at a time. So how's it going to tell us? Through our emotions. The emotions are the communication system for the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. Feelings are mental experiences of body states. And so that's why gut feelings are important. And the subconscious mind is, where do we go when we dream? We go into alternate realities that are infinite. So the main point here is that when we feel emotions, part of our healing has been to notice we have emotions, to notice, I'm feeling uncomfortable here, and I'm about to make this decision that I should do this, but I'm not feeling, it's learning that. What am I feeling? This doesn't feel right. Well, our feelings are giving us information, and that's my main point. No matter how many bits we process, it's all of our, we have 5 so-called 5 physical senses in this reality. We all know we've got so many more senses. How many of us get visions and intuitions and premonitions? All those issions are coming to us, and our emotions are the ones telling us, hey, hey, hey. So that's my point. Pay attention to our emotions. And then the 2 things we're going to be focusing on today are, 3. How do I identify my emotions? How can I communicate my emotions? And how can I perceive another's emotions? Any marketer knows you are aiming for people's emotional response if you want to sell them something. Because people react, they take action based on their emotions. So, and we're being manipulated that way. So all the more reason for us to become more conscious and possess our own emotions. So, you don't have to read this all right now, but pass these around. This is part of getting more fluent in emotions. And one of the things out of NVC, because what happens, we're going to be working with nonviolent communication today, and something that happens with people is they get in a situation where they're having trouble identifying their emotions. So in the NVC community, they came out with, well, just put it in 4 words. You're either mad, bad, sad, or glad. So that gives you a start. But really, this is where I want you to get to where, whoa, I have this. What is exactly the feeling I'm feeling? Because then you communicate that to the person, like, I'm feeling really lonely. Oh, you are. Thank you for telling me that. I thought you were just angry at me because I left the dirty cup in the sink. So mad, bad, sad, or glad is for the, the shorthand. But this list I just passed out, we're going to be referring to it today. That'll be part of what you're using today. Now, let's play some more. Let's play. Let's begin to play. So, first practice we're going to do today is listening. Listening. Let's close our eyes for a minute and listen. We've got some breeze. Feeling of, I can almost hear each of one of you here. Breathe. And become aware of your breathing. Okay, you can open your eyes. I wanted to bring us into this present moment because in listening, that is key. Get present with the person that you're listening to. Okay. The first goal in listening, empathize. How do you empathize? What kind of questions would come up in your mind? How do you feel? How's that person feeling? Anything else? What happened with that person?
How did they experience it?
How did they experience it? Is it just because she's an Aquarius? Empathize. And one of the top questions in empathy, what need of that person is not being met? There's a need that's crying out to be met. What could that be? What need is unsatisfied in that person? The more I've gotten into NVC, the more I have come to understand human needs. And it gets me in a really tender place in my heart, like, aw, we humans, we're just trying to meet our needs. Okay. The second goal, which is connected to the first goal, is understand, not fix the problem. Now, I'm guilty of this because I'm a real can-do, let's find the solutions kind of person. So I often find myself, someone is telling me their situation, I'm like, well, you know what you should do? I have a solution for you. I can fix that. I'm Ms. Fix-It. But maybe that's not the need that the person has. Maybe the problem is just a manifestation of a need. The problem doesn't so much need fixing, but I really need to hear what their need is so I can understand. And of course, slow down and breathe. If you're in an argument with someone, this is tricky, but it's like, okay, this energetic is coming at me. All right, it's triggering me. My buttons are getting pushed. All right. All right, yeah, still coming at me. All right. Right. Even if it looks dramatic, now that we've all been in this workshop together, we can know what we're doing. It's like, whoa, she's really breathing. Maybe I'm a little too heavy right now, okay? So in this empathize, understanding, energetic, we're going to be asking, who is that other person? All these Enneagram and human design and stuff like that. But this person's triggered right now. What is triggering that person? Did I step on an old wound? Because 90% of the time, This is not about what's just happening right now. This is because when that person was 5 years old, they got their hands smacked for touching their genitals. Right? Or when this person was 13, she was embarrassed in front of the whole class. And what happens with our old wounds, and remember, in a dominator system, the pressure is to push us down into victim, down the downward spiral. So old wounds then hook into the next event, and then reinforced by the next event, and then reinforced by the next event. So by the time you get in relationship with this person, they're a walking trigger machine. And I refer to all of us. Because we were raised in a trauma-based mind control system. We're all traumatized and continually traumatized and made right or wrong and rewarded or punished. Okay? So we have a huge history. And when someone's triggered in front of you, you're like, I mean, have you ever been in a fight with your partner and gone, I'm dealing with a 5-year-old. Because you are, right? The 5-year-old, that original wound is right there. And so you could get mad at the 5-year-old and smack them, or you could feel your compassion arise within you. It's like, holy shit. Oh yeah, the alcoholic father, I remember. Yeah, okay. I have to wait until the 5-year-old has had his tantrum. And then. So what does the 5-year-old need? Maybe he needs comfort. Maybe he needs me to listen. Okay, this is the process of listening. So, once that person's calmed down, or even in the throes of it, you can be asking, what happened? What really happened? Tell me the facts. You're going to try to extract what the trigger was with neutral language. Not like, well, why are you acting like such an asshole? No, you're not really going to find out that way. It's gonna seem, I can see you're upset. Can you name what's hurting you right now? Right? And as you go step by step, well, how did you feel with that? Okay, yes, I see that I have stepped past a boundary here. How did you feel about that? Did you feel afraid? And this is where these lists come in handy, right? To help the other person identify their feelings. Okay. We're going to do an exercise, and I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to give, you're going to pair off, and I'm going to give you a topic to discuss for 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. 2 minutes closer to 2 than to 3, because your partner is going to then say, what I heard you say was, so you don't want to go too far afield, you want your partner to be able to capture what you're saying. And so partner number 2 says, what I heard you say was, whatever the situation was. And then when the partner is done saying that, the partner says, is that correct? In fact, what % correct did I get it? And then the first person who spoke will say, oh, you got that 85% correct. And then you have the option, partner 2 has the option of saying, what did I miss? Right? I did this, I love this exercise, and I was doing it in a Tantra workshop one time, and there was a couple there. And, they're going through the exercise, and so he repeats back, and then he says to her, what percent correct did I get it? And she said, 5%. He was like, what? I was listening. So it's like, no. What you say is, what did I miss? Right? But that was a huge revelation for this couple because it was a perennial problem that he didn't listen. And it was a total revelation for him to slow it down. Like, have her start talking. It's like, wait, stop. What I'm hearing you say is, like, whatever you can capture, maybe it's only a sentence or 3 sentences, stop there. Are you saying blah, 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 blah? What percent correct is that? Well, actually, you got that 90%. Okay, proceed. Because we've got to stay up to date in a conversation or else we can go. I mean, in couples counseling, we'll be sitting and it's like, okay, let's go over what the situation was. And that's when it comes out like, well, I didn't think it was like that. I thought it was like complete misunderstanding from the beginning. So it's like, well, okay, let's start back at the beginning. Okay, so the question is, how did your parents handle conflict?
Okay. How did your parents handle conflict?
My parents were very private, so they didn't. There wasn't a lot of expression in the family, particularly between each other. You know, between them and us kids, we were like 4, and then we were 6, and then we were 8. It was crazy. So they, you know, there was a bit of shouting that went on in the family when there was discipline issues and what have you, but never hostile. I don't recall hostility. It's not there. To the extent today that when I do encounter hostility and conflict, it really makes me, it's difficult. Between them, we didn't really ever see is behind closed doors. Sometimes we heard shouting behind closed doors, but not often. Yeah.
Okay, good. What I heard you say was that your parents were very private, and when there was any conflict in the house, well, maybe between the parents and the children, because there were 2, then there were 4, then there were 6, there were 8. It got pretty crazy. So maybe there was some shouting, some disciplining going on. But between the parents, you didn't hear much. Maybe you heard shouting behind closed doors. But mainly, that was it. You didn't... Yeah.
What percent correct? Did I get it? Wait, she asks.
Oh yeah, what percent correct did I get? There's another part.
You missed a little part, so about 85%.
What did I miss? I knew there was
What you missed is the part about it not being hostile. It
right.
wasn't
That's
nasty.
an important point.
And that I didn't, now when I hear people in conflict and it's hostile, I really don't like it.
Yeah, that's an important part on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank one another. And switch.
How did your parents handle conflict then?
As I remember, there was a lot of shouting went on, but mostly my father, who was a troubled man, post-traumatic stress syndrome from the war. I only realized years later, but alcoholic, angry, misdirected anger, warriorhood. Yeah. And my mother was the rescuing angel. Yeah, there would be some shouting between them, but more conflict was against the children. There were 3 of us for most of my life. So my mum would be the one to come and get me after he chased me up to the bedroom. She'd come down and have some supper. She'd let me in after I've been chased out, things like that. So that's what I remember, yeah.
What I heard you say was?
What I heard you say was that in the family, your dad was and mum, when there was an argument, he was the one who was mainly shouting, She was the rescuing angel. He had some issues stemming from his life experience, including post-traumatic stress in the war and different things that affected him. You used the word hostile warrior, I think, or warrior or something. And your mom was the one in the family. There was 3 of you, and you, when there was difficulties and you were chased up to your room or something, it was your mom who came and got you and brought you down and kept things calm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What
So
percent?
what percentage did I get right? Or
I think probably about 80%.
what did I miss?
Alcoholic.
Right.
And not a hostile warrior, misguided warriorhood.
Misguided
She had-
warriorhood.
Yeah, and post-traumatic stress. You got So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And troubled. He was a troubled
Right.
man. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So thank each other for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Here's the topic. What do you need from others in order for you to feel safe being vulnerable? Talker, that's what you're going to answer. What do you need from others in order for you to feel safe being vulnerable? Begin. So, what did you just learn there?
She listens better than I do.
Sometimes it's not what was missed, but
Maybe not all of the
assumed
time.
or assumed things are reworded.
Yes.
The frame of the person's experience, not the listener's
pressure,
experience, not
isn't there,
the
though?
speaker's experience. Yeah.
Yes, so that's a good point, that we extrapolate and come to a whole different conclusion than what.
Not necessarily all entirely different, but just it's put into their frame of reference, not your frame of reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their perspective, not your perspective.
Right. Good. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes there's a very important moment for her in the story, and I don't receive it as important, and then I forget about it. Or it doesn't enter.
Beautiful.
As a listener, I had to really empathize with his story and kind of to be able to remember the beginning right into the end in the details. I was having to, like, while he's talking, recap so I didn't miss those first few bits. But by doing that, I missed the last bits. But I got the beginning right and then missed the last. Yeah, so it was like a bit like a Tetris in the brain.
So, what could you have done to have kept current?
Maybe stopped him and say, up until now,
Exactly.
a bit long. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So people don't like to be interrupted. So generally what I do is I'm listening to what you're saying. So what I've just heard you say is, is that right? Yes. Okay, go on. Right? Because then the conversation goes like this. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's good.
Yeah, good comment.
The hand on the shoulders are good on it.
Yeah.
Wait.
And then getting close.
close and getting the eye contact.
Yeah.
Really speaking with your body language.
Yeah, because I'm coming in as I'm really listening to you. It's important to me what you're saying. So I don't want to miss anything. So I just want to make sure I've got what you've said so far. Right? Mm-hmm. And I do that often with a hand on the shoulder, and at first they're like, well, not used to being interrupted. But what I'm interrupting with is an expression of compassion and empathy. Yeah. So they're happily like, oh, you're actually listening to me. Yeah. Other observations?
Yeah, it's revealing about the other person. Things that happened to them maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago still affects them.
That's right. That's right. And that helps us have compassion and empathy for this human being who came up through a trauma-based mind control system and is trying to do the best they can right now.
We had an interesting moment because I had gone like 5-10 minutes earlier, but the recall was quite challenging. So if you have a gap in the conversation or there's an interruption, maybe there's kids involved and they're interrupting or something else happens, then the decay is very, very rapid.
So how would you remedy that if you come back to a conversation that's been interrupted?
Well, I think you have to say, okay, what I remember you saying just now was that. Please continue.
Yes. Or I remember you saying that. Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Okay, now continue.
But then the person has to also remember what they said.
Yeah, of course. So I love this exercise and I use it all the time in conversation. And I recommend that you do so also. You will find that you become a much better listener because you're going to, that you're going to have to say, what I've heard you say is, and if you can only get a couple sentences, okay, hang on, I'm a little spacey right now. Did you just say blah, blah, blah? Did I get that right? And that now we're in a conversation, right? Because, and again, as much as I've done this, no one has ever been upset that I did that, interrupted them, because it really demonstrates that I'm with them. And it keeps the conversation as a cooperative venture, not I'm just, venting. Not to say you can't vent, of course, but usually I like to preface it with, I'm going to vent now. This is all about me. But if it's a relationship thing that you want to do, you want to stay current. You want to be in touch with one another, heart to heart, through the whole thing. Okay.
Sorry, do you find, Becca, that like in person, there's one dynamic, but in when you're having a conversation online or just talking on that it's so much easier for the person to talk over or not stop, or do you find that happens? It's
all the time. All the time. Yeah. Basically.
What strategies then when you can't look them in the eye and
right.
calm the energy? What strategy?
Yeah. So, like on chats, like what I see in social media is just people throwing out their opinions. Okay. However, even in chats, you can, take that piece and then paste it below and say, are you saying that? Right? What are you saying here?
And then there's a little hand on shoulder emoji.
Yeah. That's what.
And the eyes.
Yeah, right. Totally.
All the emoji people.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I mean, it's harder online. However, most people are online. So we can still practice presence through technology. I much prefer being in person, of course, but we can still practice it. And it's even better because it's written now. In that way, you can be reading something into what that person said and have them refine it for you or correct you. But I find that very rarely on social media. Very rarely are people really listening in social media. It's very narcissistic. Right? But we can be a little army that goes out there and practices listening, active listening on social media.
I think also you can, if I'm communicating with somebody who I know consistently misinterprets what I'm saying, I'll voice message. Mm-hmm. And if that is also open to misinterpret or easily misinterpreted by this person, then I will just call, rather than rely on messaging or anything else.
Yeah.
Just be direct.
Yeah, the more personal, the better, because you noticed with your partners, your communication wasn't just words.
Right.
As a listener, what was your listener doing? Right? They were like hanging on. They were receiving everything you were emoting and communicating.
I wanted to share, my partner and I sometimes have difficult conversations, and I feel like I can really be judgmental about what she's saying, and then I stop there, and I stop listening, and I start thinking about this thing I feel judgmental about, and I feel like this exercise about stopping the person there and just checking in can be a more subtle way to check, or do you mean this in this way that I judge? Because that's usually not really the case.
Yeah.
So this brings it's a question. I'm not assuming anymore.
Good.
So I won't come back later oh, you said this is so bad. And I think that can really make it way easier.
Yeah, way easier. Are you saying you're just stupid? No, I wasn't saying that at all. Yeah, exactly, because we all come with our whole set of life experiences and our filters. And this exercise keeps us current with the other person's reality.
Yeah, and one thing I've found is that NVC in general is deceptively simple. It's like, well, yeah, you're going to listen to the other person and then you're going to talk. But it's so subtle, and there's so much magic to it, and it really works, because listening is like this lost art form, especially among people my age. I think in part because of social media. Just blah 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 blah. Like everything that I say, I'm gonna put it out there, and that's what matters. And I just need to express myself. And wow, okay. Actually, listening is really important, and it's an art. It has skill to it. You need to have skill to listen correctly, and these kinds of activities highlight that and make it really there in front of your face.
That's why we serve guayusa here today, this morning. So your attention would be up.
I'm a super active listener in general, and sometimes I get so exhausted because people keep on talking. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice on that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the advice.
I've been listening to what you're saying. Hang on, I want to absorb it.
And then walk away.
Just take a 50-minute break.
Absorb it over here.
I mean, we need to be honest, right? And I've said that with people before, like, whoa, this is a lot. Hang on, I have to process this.
That's so good.
Okay, we're going to take a break, but before that, I just want to introduce NVC. So, one thing Marshall Rosenberg, who was the founder of NVC, he had so many wonderful ways of presenting his information, and he used puppets with children. He believed that we must start with children. So, he would have a jackal puppet, Now, the jackal is the world as most of us know it, i.e., the dominator system. When we observe an event happening, we immediately interpret it. And some of you noticed that in the listening exercise. You already had your filter on it. And then the next thing we come out with is a judgment. Good, bad, this is dangerous to me, this is a threat to me, right, wrong, I need to punish. Anyway, we make a judgment. Skip the heart, because we're armored there. Dominator system has taught us to armor. And we go straight into strategy. Like, okay, the way I can get this person to shut up or quit bothering me or see it my way, whatever. Immediately start. Or, I know the way you can fix that problem. Here, you should do this. And we immediately go to action. And then we make a demand. Like, will you just shut up already? Or, I can't handle what you're saying anymore. Go away. So this is dominator system training. So, nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, the first step is observe. Neutral. Wow, I'm seeing this person is angry and perspiring and nervous, and I wonder if, this is a childhood thing, but I can see something's really going on here. Feelings. I'm feeling scared that this person might keep going on, and then my need for safety might be in jeopardy, right? Or it looks to me like that there's, anger, lots of anger. There must be something underneath the anger. I wonder what need isn't being met there. And then a request. Like, could you slow down a minute and explain this to me again by telling me what the initial trigger was, or whatever. So, observation, feelings, needs, request versus interpretation, judgment, strategy, and demand. I just want to talk about needs before we break, because needs are so basic. What are some human needs? Shelter. Safety. Love. We all need to be loved. Touch. Community. This is one of the primary human needs. We are social beings. We need to feel accepted and that we belong somewhere with somebodies. Next. Creativity. What else do you need?
Freedom!
Freedom! Yes. Other needs. What do you need to have a happy life? Expression, yes.
Healthy environment.
Exactly, a healthy environment.
Nature, connection to nature.
Yes, connection to nature. Reciprocity.
What does that mean?
That means giving and receiving. Respect. Autonomy. Not be trampled.
Movement, exercise.
Yes, physical movement. Okay, so that's a good start. I want to talk about needs for just a minute. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't realize how important needs were, but through my cultivation of NVC in myself, I have come to understand that time and time again, that if I can perceive the needs in the other person, then we're getting through it. If I'm judging them, I've already got them psychoanalyzed, I am missing the boat till I can get it to come from them. And I want to apply this to how we relate to one another in this community, because we are loving and we express our gratitude to one another and we express our appreciation. And I want to demonstrate a difference that I'm beginning to incorporate in my life. So, Zia, I think you're awesome. You're so beautiful and you're so amazing. I'm so glad you're my friend. Example 1. Example 2. Zia, I really appreciate what you do in this community, because my need for being in a functional community where everyone's pitching in is being met. And by you doing what you do, it elevates me, because I need to feel that way in the community. How did those feel?
Well, interesting. The second one felt more sincere, based on your observation, and because I know you, it's like that felt really real about me. Where the first one, I was open to it, I was taking it in, and it did feel good. But then after the second one, that felt like it was more about me and what my priorities have been here. I felt more of a sense of gratification, thankfulness to be seen, appreciated, and empowered to go on.
Right. And I'm just coming into this knowledge myself. The difference is that when I say, you're wonderful, you're fantastic, you're awesome, I'm making a judgment. Right? And after a while, it's like, well, what does awesome mean?
Yeah. Kind of disingenuous.
Yeah. It's like, I'm awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like when your partner tries to shut down a conversation and be like, I love you, baby, it's okay. I love you, you're so beautiful. It's like, when we were talking. What does that
mean? Exactly. So what I'm learning through my development of NVC is that when I recognize my need or another person's need and express my appreciation and gratitude, it's so real. Because needs are at our core. So, and I really meant everything I said. I mean, the awesome and beautiful and all that. And the need you meet for me is really important. And I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you, Becca.
So, the takeaway, needs are important. We have snacks. And shall we serve them there?
I don't know, maybe there. Are you here? Sorry.
Let's go there.
Yeah, let's go to the kitchen, have a change of scene. We're taking a snack break, then we're diving into NVC. Okay, who's ready to dive into NVC?
Yes.
Okay. It was Marshall Rosenberg coined this as nonviolent communication, and then with the, attention to language and not stating in a negative, it turned into compassionate communication. In any case, it's both. So there's the 4 steps: observation, feelings, needs, requests, but you have it on a paper in front of you right now. So we're going to go through each of these steps. Because there's, of course, always more than meets the eye.
I didn't get one.
What's the first step? Observation. So this is, we don't really have much in the way of true journalism anymore, only in the alternative media. But in true journalism, it's just the facts, ma'am. Indisputable facts.
Verifiable.
Yes. And so when you start out your sentence, you can't say, when you stormed in all angry. No, that's a bunch of judgment. When you walked in and shut the door loudly. Indisputable. Right? Loudly could be debated, but probably, or you shut the door forcibly. That would be a neutral expression. Usually, we give an observation with an evaluation or a judgment, and that will be heard as criticism or reproach. So the first step is very important, that you start off with just the facts, ma'am. If you use words like, you always, you never, it was completely over the top, any of those absolute words, what you're about to say is going to be false or an exaggeration. And, when someone says to you, you never listen to me, in your mind you go, well, I listened to you once. So the never isn't true, so I'm not going to listen to anything else you say. Right? So if you hear those absolute words coming out of your mouth, you know that you're probably going to have to retract that, because it's probably not true. All right, so let's do a little practice on, and I just want you to call out observation or evaluation or judgment. Okay? I'm going to give certain sentences and you tell me if it's an observation or an evaluation. John was angry with me yesterday for no reason. Judgment. You could have said, as soon as John walked in the door yesterday, he started speaking with a raised voice. Last night, Elena was biting her nails while watching TV. Observation. My boss did not ask for my opinion at the meeting.
Observation.
My father is a good man.
Judgment.
Marta works too hard.
Judgment.
Enrique is aggressive with his sister.
Judgment.
It could be, Enrique hit his sister when she changed the channel. Observation. Pamela was the first in line every day.
Observation.
My son doesn't brush his teeth very often.
Observation. Depends.
What's often?
What's often?
4 times a day.
Twice this week, my son didn't brush his teeth before bed. Right? My cousin told me that I do not look good when I wear yellow.
An observation.
That's an opinion. No, that's a judgment. That's an evaluation.
That's an observation.
Evaluation.
It's an observation because my cousin told me I do not look good. She said, you don't look good when you wear yellow. Now, she was making a judgment.
You
But
deserve the judgment.
yes, exactly. Exactly. My aunt always complains about me. Judgment. You could say, when I saw my aunt at the wedding, she told me how disappointed she was that I wasn't married yet. That's observation. Okay, so just think of yourself as a true journalistic reporter when you start NVC. So when you begin a conversation with someone that you want to bring up a topic with, you have to line up your mind with, okay, when she arrived at 3:30 for our 3 o'clock appointment. True, right? All of that is observation and true. Let's go to feelings. As you have noticed already in the exercises that we've done, that when you express your feelings, when you are showing your own vulnerability, you have opened the door for vulnerability of the other person. And it's when we are our true selves that we now can have true communication and work toward realistic solutions, because the solutions will be based on what our real feelings and needs are. So, this step in NVC, the feelings step, is a little tricky, and I want to point out a few of the tricky places. If you say, I feel that, or I feel like, what will follow is a thought, not an emotion. I feel that you treat me poorly. I have no information about your emotions there. Or I feel like I feel like an orphan when I'm with that group of people. Well, what's that feel like? Maybe you like being alone, or maybe I don't know what that means, right? So I feel that, I feel like, have no place in this step of feelings.
So it's actually using the word feel, but it's a thought process.
Exactly. So, for example, I feel like I live with a wall. What emotion is that? I feel like you must know what to do. What? I mean, for us to resolve things, I've got to have real information. I feel like my boss is manipulating me. Do you like it? Does it, are you happy? Are you, yeah, right? So, you have a list of emotions, and we know that if you can't think of them in the moment, you're either mad, bad, glad, or sad. But I'm recommending that you go more deeply into this list so that you can express emotions. Now, so I feel like, I feel that, not emotions. Here's another category of things that are not emotions. Words that put you in a victim position. And we're so used to this in the dominator system, we may not even notice. So, what are not feelings are what we judge ourselves to be in comparison to some ideal. Example, I feel inadequate. Inadequate? What emotion is that? It's not an emotion. It is some comparison with some ideal thing that it doesn't give you any information about how I feel in that position. Or how we think others evaluate us. I don't feel important. Well, what information did you get about that in terms of my emotional state about that? You got zero information. I don't feel important. There's no... It would be more like, I feel disappointed when I'm around that guy because he doesn't listen to me when I speak. Something like that. Oh, you're disappointed, you're sad. Okay, now I can grab a hold of something. Or how we think others treat us. And this is a very common mistake. I feel so misunderstood. I feel betrayed. I feel abandoned. I feel threatened. Any word that needs someone else to do it to you is not your emotional state. I feel abandoned. Are you sad? Are you scared? Maybe you like being alone. Maybe you're happy that he left you. I don't get information from abandoned, except that you're perceiving that somebody has done something to you. So all of those words that need somebody else in the equation is not coming from your emotional field. Okay? I feel threatened. Okay, I need someone to be that threat to me. So as we practice, this is heads up, look out for these evaluation words that either put you up against some ideal or someone has done something to you. Again, this is victim language, which plays into our programming. And we're working on breaking that programming. And there's a difference between a cause of your emotions and the catalyst for your emotions. And here's a very common way we say this. You made me feel so angry when you didn't come. Really? Can I make you feel angry? When we say that, we give our power to somebody else. You make me so frustrated. I don't want to give my power to someone to frustrate me. I can be frustrated on my own accord. That person acting the way they did was the catalyst, but not the cause. Again, putting us into a one-down victim position if it's you make me. Or how about, I felt angry when you didn't come because I wanted to talk to you about my health issues. Okay, very clear. You didn't come. That was a catalyst for me to feel angry because I had a need to talk with you. All right, so these are the red flags that we look for in feelings. And now here's, again, a little survey test. Tell me if these are feelings or thoughts. I feel like you don't love me. Thought. How about I feel anguished? I feel sad when I'm with you. Yes, now we're talking emotions. I'm sorry you're leaving me. Feeling. I feel sorry. I feel sad. I feel disappointed. I feel anguished. You know, you got a whole list there. I get afraid when you talk like that.
Feeling.
Yes, feeling. When you do not greet me, I feel forgotten and abandoned and marginalized. That's a thought. Or how about, you could say, when you don't say hi, I feel lonely.
Feeling. Mm-hmm.
Feeling, the catalyst, and then the feeling, but not the cause. I'm glad you can come. Feeling. You are horrible. You are disgusting.
Observation.
Thought, clearly a thought. You could turn that into, I feel disgusted when you don't bathe. I own my feelings. I feel disgusted, and you stay.
Can you feel disgusted on your own?
Yeah.
You need another person to feel disgusted.
I don't think you need another person to feel disgusted. You can just be you know, I feel creepy. I feel, right. I want to hit you.
Thought.
That's a thought. But it could be, I feel so frustrated that I have the desire to hit you. I'm owning my frustration and I'm explaining what the impulse is. I feel misunderstood. Thought. You could say, I feel so discouraged and frustrated when you don't hear what I'm saying. Own your feelings, observing what's happening. I feel appreciative of how you took care of me. Feeling. Yes. I feel inferior and useless. That's a thought. You could say, I I don't feel confident in my own talents. You could say that instead of I feel useless and inferior. I don't feel confident in my own talents. I'm owning my feeling of lack of confidence. Okay. Any questions about feelings?
So, why is inferior a thought when, for example, disgusted is a feeling? Like, don't you need another person for both those things?
To feel disgusted. I mean, this is kind of on the border, but I can feel disgusted with my own situation. The feeling of disgust is like, bleh, this is like a visceral disappointment, not just disappointment, it's revulsion, or it's an external thing, but there is a catalyst, but it's not the cause.
But isn't inferiority kind of the same?
I feel inferior. I'm comparing myself to someone else. I can just feel disgusted that there's, rotten fruit there.
Mm-hmm. But you need another person to feel inferior. Person.
Or you need an external judgment. You have to compare. That's why one of the categories was a comparison to some ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't necessarily need another person to feel inferior. It could be your own judgment of self.
Right. It's an ideal. Inferior to what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
So when you notice that someone is not expressing feelings but thoughts by saying like, you make me feel this way or something, and they need someone else, they are abusing the victim role or being a victim. How do you go about victims?
Yes, good question. So when I'm in that situation, I'll ask, how do you feel? And if they can't access it, I'll say, what did you feel in that moment? And if they still can't access it, then I'm grabbing the list in my mind and I start asking them, do you feel annoyed? Do you feel crabby? Do you feel cranky? Do you feel awkward? Do you feel chagrined? Right? Very often, I'm working with this list with my clients because I want to help them identify their feelings. Do you feel alert, apprehensive, cautious, alarmed, distrustful, fearful, jumpy, nervous, horrified, panicked, paralyzed?
And when you identify it, you go to the next step.
Yes. Okay. So, when this workshop started at 12:30, I felt anxious because my need for finishing on time might not be met. Fact. Not when this workshop started late, though that's what I'm implying. When this workshop started at 12:30 instead of 12, or when this workshop started at 1:30 instead of 1, I felt anxious and worried because my need for a prompt, finishing on time workshop is not being met. Indisputable fact, my feeling, and the great thing about all of this, and this is the standard you want to get up to, it is indisputable. The person can't say to you, oh, you don't feel anxious. Oh, I do feel anxious. Or, we didn't start at 1:30, we didn't start late. Well, we started at 1:30. See, it's all indisputable. Indisputable fact. Indisputable, you can't dispute my own emotions and my own need, my own need to run a workshop on time is not being met. You can't say to me, you don't have that need. This is why NVC puts us into a neutral zone where we can make movement forward, because it is indisputable. Those first three are indisputable. And so if you start to veer into an area where someone is saying, that isn't true, that isn't so, then you have to first check, wait, did I say that in a way that's indisputable? No. Let me rephrase it. And
what if someone is disputing what you're feeling? You know, like I'm saying, I feel this, and you're hearing back, you don't feel that.
So then, yeah, when you say, give me an example.
I feel frustrated. I feel frustrated about this.
Yes, and then the person says to you, you don't feel frustrated. You have no reason to be frustrated. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even just, you don't feel frustrated, you feel this.
Okay, so you say, when you tell me how I'm feeling, when you tell me that I'm not frustrated, when I'm identifying my feeling as frustration, I feel even more frustrated because I can't, because my need for being heard and felt is not being met.
Sometimes that seems to end the conversation. If I can't get agreement that you're negating what I'm saying I'm feeling, then it's like, there's nothing more to say.
But sometimes, sorry.
So, we're going over these steps in MBC from the I perspective. The other thing that I want to teach is that you take these steps to the you. So, when you tell me that I'm not feeling frustrated, how are you feeling?
That's good.
What need of yours is not being met? So, when you tell me that I'm not feeling frustrated, are you feeling disappointed because you have a need to be heard? Or do you have a need to, I was going to say control the situation, but I want to make a less inflammatory statement. Do you have a need for me to be happy? Do you have a need to avoid conflict? If we can get it to the need, then we can make traction.
And what I was going to say is sometimes it's helpful, though, to unpackage, because it's not exactly disputing what you say you're feeling, but if somebody is obviously angry, what anger is it? Are they frustrated? Is that why they're angry? Sometimes I think it helps people to know what it is. So they'll say, I'm really mad. It's like, okay, well, are you mad at something? Are you frustrated with something? Is something being annoying you? How do you which are you? Which mad are you?
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. And then they kind of come down to, and then you come to need, I guess.
Yeah. Because just engaging, showing that you care what the other person is going through. If you can't, wow, they're saying things that don't make any sense to me, so I'm obviously not understanding where they're coming from. So let me ask some questions here to try to get at where they are coming from. What is always in the back of my mind is, what is the need? Right? And you can even take things and repeat it back to them. I'm so angry at you. So you're angry. I can see that you're angry. And then again, unpack that anger. What is that? You engage at whatever level you can engage by tuning in to where the other person is. Okay, so the needs, we have our own list right here. And one I want to put down is celebration. I think we have a need to dance and play games and laugh and stuff like that. That's a human need. And also spiritual communion, I would put there. And I'd like to point out this pandemic is denying several basic human needs, not the least of which is for us to be able to read faces.
Yeah.
And that's why many of us feel pretty strongly about what's going on, because it's denying our humanity. We have a right to our feelings. So just one more note on needs. Something that we women especially have to look out for is we were wired, most of us, to tune in to other people's needs to the point where we might actually try to take responsibility for them. And I know I have to do this with myself time and time again, is like step back from, wait a minute, that person is making a free will choice. And I may have a need to take care of them, but I wasn't actually their mother, so, just a little note about needs. And we women in general, not only, but in general, we have a tendency to codependence, which is sacrificing our own needs. And that's why this NVC practice of identifying our needs is very helpful. It's like, oh wait, I actually have a need for silence, or I have a need to be alone, and I have a right to express my need and have it fulfilled. All right, so let's do another exercise. Recognizing needs and taking responsibility for your own feelings. You're going to tell me which of these are expressing needs. You annoy me when you leave our private documents in plain view.
Nope.
Nope. It would be, I feel upset when I see that you've left the documents in view because they're private, and I want them to be in a file where we all know where they are. I've expressed my need to keep them private and in a file. I feel angry when you say this because I want respect, and I hear your words as an insult.
No. I want
Close, but
respect
no.
is a need.
Yes? I feel angry when you say this because I want respect. I need respect. And I hear your words as an insult.
Similar. Need expression.
I hear your words as an insult is a judgment, though.
But you're saying I hear them as an insult. I'm not saying they are an insult. Like, in case you notice that I'm looking upset, it's because I've just taken offense because I just heard your words as an insult. Did you mean them as an insult?
Right. That's the question.
Do you see the difference? I hear them as an insult is a fact. It may be an interpretation and a judgment on your part, but if that's what's going on with you, you get to own it. I feel frustrated when you're late. Is a need expressed there? No.
Implicitly.
Implicit. It'd be better to say, I feel frustrated when you're late because I like to be sitting down when the movie starts. Oh, you have a need. I get it. Because otherwise the person might think that your need is to control them.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But if you state your need, oh no, I like to watch the movie from the beginning. Oh, okay. That's different than, I want to tell you what time to be here because I'm running your life.
With that, I get confused between need and desire. I mean, to sit
to want to be sitting down when the movie starts seems to me to be a desire, not a need.
It depends on the person, how anal they are. And what they want to sit on. So, some people are really, and so the conversation would go, oh, you want to be there when the movie starts, we want to be sitting when the movie starts. I apologize for being late. Is this like a hard and fast rule with you? Yes, it is. Or, no, that's my preference. Okay, great. Yes, we can go between preference and need when we're in the conversation with the person. Because some of our needs are like basic and non-negotiable. And some of our needs are not so necessary. Not so, they go into the realm of preferences.
And so we're not so concerned about having a really clean boundary between those two things, because what we're going for is compassionate communication.
That's right. So ideally, yes. In other words, if you're really bent out of shape because your partner arrived late after the movie started, that can start a whole conversation about how much structure you need, why was that so important, and whoa, I'm really overreacting because it's just my preference, and I know you got held up in traffic, and that opens the conversation on need and preference.
Yeah. Okay.
And also goes to requests, I guess, because then you can ask, will you be willing to arrive on time next time?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the person says, no.
And then you're dealing with reality, okay.
If you chose a better movie, I'll be on time.
Yeah. Okay, how about this one? I'm sad that you're not coming to dinner because I wanted to spend time alone with you.
That's fair.
Yes. Stating your need. I'm disappointed when you said you would do it and you didn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's fair, but is there a need?
Yeah, your need is for the person to be good to their word.
It's implied.
It's implied.
Trust that person.
How about, I'm disappointed that you didn't do what you said because I need to be able to count on your word. It was implied, but stating it clearly means the person gets the message. Oh, yeah, you're really valuing my word, and whoops, maybe I'm not valuing my word.
Okay, so what if you say, I want to be able to value your word?
Yes.
It's a little different message.
It's a little different message, but it does state, okay, now we're in the realm of preference, want, need.
Yeah.
And in that conversation, you would establish, like, it's crucial for me to be able to count on you. Or, in this matter, it's just my preference. This is the realm between need, want, desire, preference. That's why we're doing this, so we can look at the subtleties here. I feel discouraged because I was hoping I had made more progress in my work to date.
Well, that's fair. It's a self-judgment. It's how you feel about yourself. It's fair.
It's your need.
Yeah.
Stating the need. I disappointed myself because I didn't meet my own need. The things people say sometimes hurt or offend me. Is there a need there? No. So you could say, sometimes people say things and I feel hurt because I need people to appreciate me. Now we've got a clear need. And as we do these exercises, you see how the realm of needs, it's got all these gradations of non-negotiable to a desire or preference, and why it's important to figure out what our needs are.
It might be useful to figure out not only what they are, but I have I have the need because my second grade teacher gave me that need. So maybe it's time to evaluate needs and get rid of some of those needs.
That's right.
Don't impose those needs onto people.
Yes, exactly. And as we can dive into the realm of needs, now we're dealing with exactly what you say. Like, wait, what is this a crucial need for me? Why do I have this need? Is it really a need? Yes, it's this. Now we're in a juicy conversation because we're dealing with our realities. I am very happy that you received this award. Is there a need? No need there. It could be. When you received the award, I was very pleased because I was hoping you would be recognized for all your hard work. In other words, I have this value, this need of mine, that you get recognition. Now, whether or not that's of high value in my life, or it was something I was really hoping for. Again, the gradation of needs, wants, desires, preferences. It scares me when you yell at me. Not a need. But this is a situation where a need should be expressed. When you raise your voice, it scares me, or I get scared. I feel afraid because I'm afraid someone is going to get hurt, and I need an environment that's safe for everyone. Clear? And the last one, I'm grateful that you offer me a ride because I need to get home before my kids get home.
Clear need.
Clear need. All right. And the last step is request. Now, generally, the way I find NVC working is that we do rounds of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, observation, emotion needs, observation, emotion needs. And it's generally one, people on one side of it, and then the other one expresses their 1, 2, 3. So you may go back and forth with that. Well, when you just said that, I felt, disappointed because my need for clarity wasn't being met. And then you can go, but when you say that you have a need for clarity, I feel scared because I have a need to express myself clearly, and I'm beginning to think maybe I didn't. In other words, you get a conversation going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, back and forth. And then there'll be a moment, hopefully, where you can make a request. So, the thing about requests, you need to make a request clear, concrete, and in positive language. Not like, would you be a better person? It's like, concretely, what does that mean? And when you make your request, ask the listener to repeat your request to make sure they got it. This is very important. So you're requesting that I call you when I'm going to be late? Yes, I'd like you to call me, if you can, within a half an hour. Or I need a day's notice. Right? The request gets concrete. And then you ask the listener, is that a request you can complete? Can you honor my request? And here's where building relationship is important. The person has to feel safe enough to say, no, I can't do that. Okay. Can you tell me something toward what I want? Can you make me an offer? Could you offer me something? I have a need for you being on time. Is there anything you can offer to me in that regard? And again, the conversation gets going so you get to a request that can be honored. It's so important that everyone be honest throughout this whole request procedure, because if you're used to being a people pleaser and you just say, yeah, whatever, well, you just made an agreement. And now you're going to break your agreement before long, and now you're going to be off and running on another conflict. So, there's so many ways that things can be solved. Like, are you willing to take ownership of your part in this situation? That would be a request. Can you own that the words that you said crossed my boundaries? Can you understand that? Or, my request is that you apologize. It would mean the world to me if you would just say, I'm sorry. Can you meet that request? Or, I'd like to request that we take this into mediation. I'd like to get a third party involved so that we can negotiate this. Would you be willing to show up for that? Would you be willing to agree to disagree about this? We see that we are at opposite ends on this and we're beating our head up against the wall. Can we coexist with a disagreement? Would you be willing to do that? Another request might be, wow, we're at an impasse here. Are you willing to meet with me or some other person to work on creative solutions? Like, let's take this conflict that we're having right now out of the center of it and look at other ways we could respond. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to forgive me? Think before you answer.
That's a question, not a request.
Yes, okay. My request is that you forgive me. Are you willing to do that? No, I can't forgive you. What you did is unforgivable. Okay, thanks for that information. We're going to go into, are you willing to go to mediation? Are you willing that we both work on our shadows separately? Are you, it gives you a place to go from. Are you willing to change your behavior? No, I'm not. I'm an alcoholic and I'm going to keep drinking. Thank you for that information. That's what I need to know. Are you willing to hold me? Are you willing to comfort me? I know we've had this terrible blow up. Are you willing? Would you please just sit with me in a gentle space so I can feel your heart? The person will answer yes or no. But the thing with requests, if you get a no answer, that's great. Because now you know, okay, that's not going to work, so I have to go to the next thing. Right? Okay, let's just see if these are clear requests or demands, concrete action, and in positive language. I want you to understand me. Is that concrete? Is that clear?
No.
No. So instead it would be, I'd like you to tell me what you heard me say. Right? Now I'm going to get some real feedback.
Yeah.
I would like you to tell me one thing I did that you appreciate. Is that a request? Clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. It would be better if you had more self-esteem.
That's not a request.
That's not a request. Yeah. You could say, I would like you to take the assertiveness training course because I think it would help you with your self-esteem. And that's a request that can be refused. But you at least expressed your, I have a need for seeing you in a happier condition. Would you take this assertiveness training? Yes, no. It's going to give you information. I want you to stop drinking.
Yeah, okay, you want, okay.
Yeah. Another way to, that is an implied request, but you could say, please tell me what needs get satisfied when you drink. I want to discuss other ways to meet those needs. Would you be willing to have that conversation with me?
Mm-hmm.
See, that was a request that was premature. It needed to go back into the needs realm first and then we can come into the request. Would you be willing to just explore this with me? Let me be who I am. Is that a request? Not really. I want you to tell me that you won't leave our relationship even if I do things you don't like, because that was what was really behind it.
But is that
I want you to tell me that you won't leave our relationship. And then he can answer, I can't tell you that. Which is information you need to know.
just, if you do things I don't like, it's just very vague.
Yeah, even if you do things I don't like. The request is, I need you. I am requesting that you stay with me. Yeah, and give me a commitment. And it's important to know that he can't do that. Please drive without passing the speed limit. That would help me feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
Clear request. I'd like to get to know you better.
Yeah.
It's a request, but it's not concrete. Could we make a date to meet for lunch every Tuesday? Yes, I'm willing to do that. I want you to respect my privacy.
Vague.
Stating a need, but vague. I am requesting that you knock on the door and wait for my answer before you come in the room. Can you do that? Please prepare dinner more often.
Vague.
Too vague. Could you please make dinner every Monday and Wednesday? You'll get a clear yes or no. Okay, those were the exercises. Now we're going to practice. Any questions? Yeah.
So there's a listener in a situation and someone who's talking, and so the person who is listening is doing the observation, checking out what the other person is feeling, and which need is not being met. And then you request something you would like, or you're like trying to make a request for the other person?
These are all on one side. Observation, feelings, needs, requests, you do that all yourself. And then you can go to the other person and they can go through it. So you go back and forth that way. And if you have a person that's unresponsive, you can help lead them through these. I mean, I have to do that all the time. I'm working with people all the time that are not trained in NVC. And I may not even tell them. I will just make the questions. So when did this happen and who was involved? Okay. So when on last Friday evening, when at the party and people were drinking, you felt scared and disappointed, so I lead people that way, but checking in, well, when people were drinking at the party, how did you feel? And if they give me, I felt like the house was going to fall down. No. Did you feel afraid? Did you feel insecure? Then I help them to identify their feeling, and then were you afraid that the cops were going to come? Did you have a need for being legal? Did you have a need for feeling safe? Did you have a need for being around people of like mind? So that's the way you use it with another person who, they don't even have to know NVC. But it keeps, remember the goal is to get to the indisputable facts. Because when you're dealing with reality, then you can build up solutions that have a better chance of having success because they're real.
Real requests and that are realizable.
Yes. Okay. any other questions? All right. We're going to break into groups of 2. So, the first person is going to talk about a time when some upset. Think of an upset. So it'll be when happened, I felt, whatever the emotion is, because my need for whatever it is wasn't being met. So right now you're going to describe it to the person that's in front of you. Okay? So we're just doing practice with the first 3 steps right now. Is that clear? Some upset, something that was hard for you to handle. And you're going to describe it. And the listener can come back. It's a listening exercise, a repeating exercise, but with NVC. Observations. What did you notice? That was a very simple exercise, but it was, getting your feet wet with NVC. How'd it feel? Awkward, natural?
No, friendly and hopeful.
Friendly and hopeful, good.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it shows you a way out. Safe. It felt safe. Imagine that. That's so important in relationship.
It's very clear.
What?
Very clear.
Very clear. Able to get down to what's real. Yeah. Cool. Workshops are so much fun. So now I'd like to ask for a volunteer. There's of who knows each other and who's in relationship with each other, who's willing to bring a conflict in front of the camera and all of us. And I will coach you. I will be the coach. And I do this all the time. All right, so what I'm going to ask is that everyone here hold space. Because this is vulnerability and courage. And I don't know what, it's discovery. So it will help if we're all holding the energy of this attention to discovery and compassion.
Yeah.
All right, so you can begin.
Yes, well, since we've come here, the conflict that I feel strongly in our relationship is that I've wanted to be retired and not have to not work a lot in the garden or making money, but to spend more time reading and doing spiritual practices. And I feel a constant request from you.
Okay, that's excellent. And I'm going to just stop you here because I want to make sure that she's up to date. Let's do the listening exercise. What I just heard you say is?
What I heard you say is that since we've come here to Ecuador, there's been a ongoing conflict because your idea of coming here is to be retired and spend more time on reading and spiritual exercises.
Okay. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And so, since that hasn't happened fully, I presume, how do you feel? So, start the sentence. When this situation of me not being able to do my spiritual exercises and be retired, blah, hasn't happened, I have felt, or I feel.
I was thinking more along the lines of that I feel this constant nagging from you. Maybe it's not objective or positive enough. When I feel this constant request from you to spend more time working in the garden and making money.
Okay, and when you feel that constant request from her, how do you feel?
I feel put upon. I feel.
Try again.
I feel pulled away from what I want to do.
Okay, I'd like an emotion. Do you feel upset? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel angry?
Yeah, it comes to, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I feel like it's coming at me like.
Do you feel, so you feel frustrated, you feel angry, and is there anything else that comes into play in terms of the emotional realm?
Yeah, because it's often expressed with a lot of frustration that's built up on Zia's part, that I respond with frustration.
Okay,
and
so
it's just like frustration. I want you to do this, and you want me to do that, and yeah.
Okay, so then you feel disappointed and sad.
Yes.
Is that so?
Yes.
Okay, so now just say, with this situation, I feel, what do we get? Frustrated, anxious, disappointed, and sad. Say that to Zia.
Yes, with this situation, I feel frustrated and sad and angry.
Angry. Yeah. Because my need for
freedom and a choice to do what I want to do with my time feels inhibited.
Yes, it's not being met. My need for freedom and my own choice to do what I want in my own time is not being met. Okay, we're going to stop it right there.
When I look at this situation, what I heard you say is, when I look at this situation, I feel frustrated and disappointed and angry because my need for freedom is not being met.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you can give your version of the story, which would be how you experience this reality.
Yes. In this moment, I feel surprised and frustrated because I thought we had gone much further in working through this issue.
So my need
is for current communication. And I'd like to add to that. I feel frustrated when I hear you, once again, talk about having a need for reading your spiritual books and doing your spiritual practices, when you're wanting to have more freedom. However, what I observe is lots of hours every week, every day, watching football and basketball and reading the New York Times funny papers for hours. I feel frustrated that what you're saying and what I'm seeing are really not matching. And I also see your body's need for more exercise. And you get injuries and you have problems with your body at times, back pain and this and that. And just getting out in the garden would be very helpful for your body.
So when you observe him watching or looking at the New York Times and football, and you feel frustrated because your need for
authentic communication, accurate, current communication that's authentic, that matches what I see and what I hear from you. So I feel that what do I feel?
I'd like to know about a need. Well, you could give feel with an emotion, or you could express a need.
Well, I'm going to go to frustrated. I feel frustrated because I need to have congruent communication that feels real.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes. And I should have included that in the beginning with part of my need for wanting to feel freedom is that I also want to have time to read the news and my emails and sports.
Yeah.
I like to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I heard you say is I should have added in the beginning that I want to spend my time on the computer as much time as I want, doing whatever I want. That's freedom to me.
And when you hear him say that, how do you feel?
I feel frustrated because I have a need for congruent communication, and I hear you reading to me from your spiritual books how Rudolf Steiner and Dennis Klocek are so into gardening and learning, just even occasionally to get your hands in the soil helps to clear the mind and gain information from all the microbial life and the complexity that is there. And it comes back to congruent communication, or congruence. That what you're saying and what you're doing is congruent. I feel frustrated when I don't. I get that.
What I heard was an implied request. I'd like you to actually make a request of him, and then you're going to reply to the extent you can comply with that request or not. Okay? Because I heard an implied request, and I'd like you to just state it.
The request, which I made many times before, is just spend like 2 or 3 hours a week in the garden.
So ask, would you please?
Would you please spend 2 or 3 hours a week doing things that you are good at and you love to do, like pruning the trees? You had a tree trimming business. Our trees are really in need of pruning. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, I'm willing, and I look forward to it. Yes.
Yes, beautiful. Yay. Now, do you have a request of Zia?
Yes, lots. And
let's do one at a time, okay?
I would like for you to continue to inspire me in a positive way to be in the garden and work in the garden. And I like to work alone. So just that I have that, that I can go out and do my tree trimming and pruning in a creative way. And I like to be out in the garden by myself as a meditation.
So I just heard an implicit request. Would you ask her about that? And you can continue, but I hear a request forming, so I'd like you to make a specific request to her. I just heard one.
Yes. When I go into the garden to work and to work with the plants and to commune with them, I'm hoping you'll let me be alone.
I'm going to stop you there.
Please.
When I go into the garden to commune with the plants, would you, and then complete your request.
When I go into the garden to work with the plants, would you honor my need to be alone and to meditate with the plants? Privately.
What I heard you ask for is that when you go into the garden to commune with the plants, you'd like to be alone, and so you can have that relationship with the plants. I guess that's my addition. But sure, I like that too.
Yes.
Okay, so we now have 2 agreements, and I'd like you to restate them.
I agree that when you go into the garden to work with the plants, that I give you privacy. You get to do it on your own.
And you made an agreement.
Yes, and I agree to work in the garden 3 to 4 hours a week, and work to make the garden more beautiful and more productive.
Beautiful. Now, to conclude, I would like you both to express appreciation to one another in terms of needs, your own needs that are met through this relationship.
My needs are met in our relationship because we have the same ideals and values, and our choice to live totally organic life, to live on a garden, on a farm, in a garden, which you take care of 95% of the time. and between supervising and doing the actual work, you're doing 95% of it, and I appreciate that so much. And I just value from the very beginning your morals and your ethics and your values, and the way that you put yourself out to help this community and to help our farm be sustainable and organic and full of life and beauty.
Because my needs are, what needs got met there?
My needs to have beauty around me and to have beautiful plants around me, and my need to be able to eat organic food and to live a healthy life without chemicals. Thank you.
And
then it should be really easy to get in the garden a couple
Well, you would
hours
think,
a week.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would. I always think. Okay, so.
Well, he's just made an agreement. 3 to 4 hours a week.
How do I know he's going to follow through on that? Because we've been here before.
We've got an agreement now with witnesses.
They have guns. She knows where we live.
Okay, so we
now express your appreciation based on needs, your needs that are met through this relationship.
I really appreciate our common values and the way we have this history that's brought us to the lifestyle we've chosen here. Because we've only been together like 10 years, as long as we've been
We're
here.
still on honeymoon.
We're still on honeymoon. So I appreciate all that. What I appreciate the very most about you, Roshni, is how committed you are to love. And I see you radiating love. in spite of having humor that tends toward being a smart ass, that really balances it out, because you're not a sweetsy cutesy kind of love guy. You practice love, and people love you for it, including me. And I especially appreciate that. Given my personal history, you are the one guy that your love has penetrated my heart fully. I feel your love. And I feel so grateful for your love. Thank you, Rose. And I'll have to be really grateful to see you out there pruning a little.
Thank you.
With my tree.
My pleasure.
Then you'll know it's done.
Thank you, Becca.
Yes, my pleasure. All right, so that's how it works. And you saw that my job was to bring us back, keep not a strict, have to jump through these steps, but had to keep coming back to where the needs were, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you felt there were real emotions there. Yeah. And that's where our power is. Because it's very tender, your frustration. And your frustration. You were both frustrating with one another. The actions had you both in frustration. And just being able to be with that and then move forward from there, acknowledging. It's very frustrating for you, very frustrating for you. You have a right to those feelings. And you have a right to your needs. Any other comments?
It was so beautiful when it got to the expressing gratitude part, because you both just went, and we're talking about totally different things, but the gratitude and the love was just so easily expressed. You both were like, oh, well, this is easy. I love you for this, and thank you for this, and thank you for this. And that was really beautiful to watch.
So, when we are using compassionate communication, when we are using our empathy, we want to feel with our hearts. I mean, I was feeling with my heart with both of you in that struggle. I have to watch it, as a therapist. Sometimes I'm like near tears, and just with the beauty of the raw emotion. It's what makes us human. And it's important to be curious and ask questions. Like, well, what, there was that thing of like, well, it's a waste of time, reading the New York Times and watching football and baseball and whatever. And it's like, no, actually, it's a need of mine to. We didn't go deep into that, but, I was extrapolating like, oh yeah, that relaxation, that kicking back. Also, were you watching body language? And how did it go? What did you observe in body language? It softened as we went, right? Right? And you can do that when you're in conversation with someone. If you see somebody like this, or like this, or like this, that's information like, whoa, this person doesn't feel safe. So how can I create safety here so that we can continue this conversation? So empathy happens, of course I go here, it happens in the heart. Of course it's a whole body thing, but this awareness of who we are, and time again, I feel so tender about it, that at the core, we are like children who got hurt. And we carry that hurt forward. And then all kinds of things trigger it. And it's like, wait, let's slow down. Let's breathe. Let's allow that hurt to come out. And observe it. And feel it. And now let's move through it. And so this was a relationship thing. As we organize and collaborate together for a new earth, this kind of scenario of frustration and anger and the need for safety and the need for being heard and the need for respect will be played over 10 million times. So we're going to get lots of practice. And our human condition is, it's a kind of allowing that, okay, I came through a trauma-based mind control system, I'm still recovering. Yeah. And so is everyone else. So we can take that moment to breathe, to be gentle and compassionate with one another, because the new earth we want to build should not be in reaction to a trauma-based mind control system. It should be what springs organically through us.
Right.
And so we have to clear the space and energetically hold the space for that friend, that lover, that coworker, that partner that's going through a hard time. Hold that space. Allow all of that bullshit to roll out. And now we're going to go through the 3 steps and see if we can get to the needs and make requests and move forward. So
it's really a lot about autonomy.
Owning.
Owning our feelings and our needs is just autonomy.
Yes, what I often say about the NVC practice is it allows us to keep the ball in our own court. Once I clear up my observation, I got to get that straight. That has to be undebatable. Then I own my emotions. I have to identify them, everything we went through. That's what the cheat sheet is for. I own my needs. Now I am empowered. Maybe I'm even ashamed to say, I have a need to be held. Mm-hmm. But hey, that's my need. Mm-hmm. I have a need to be heard and understood. Would you do this listening exercise with me? But by owning our things, we're in our power, as imperfect as it may be. And now we join with another. And now we join with others. And that way we can move forward. In the speech I gave, we just recorded it for Acapulco this year, I quoted Thich Nhat Hanh, who said essentially, the next Buddha is Maitreya, and it is the Buddha of love. And he said, I don't think it's going to be a man or a woman. It will be the Sangha, the community.
Nice.
The next Buddha is collective. So, if we're going to bring in this golden age, it's going to come through us. So, I'd like to conclude with a little meditation. So, if you'd like to get comfortable, and close your eyes, and breathe. Just breathing and getting in touch with yourself after this day. A full day. And coming into this present moment. Breathing. Breathing into the human condition. Recall a memory that evokes care and compassion in you. You could think of someone dear to you. You could think of the condition in nature. You could think of the human condition. Now picture that person or those animals or plants and breathe their distress and suffering into your heart. And exhale the essence of freedom from suffering. With each inhale, the pain, suffering, distress. With each exhale, freedom from suffering. And send that exhale to that person or that ecosystem or that group. Breathing in suffering, exhaling freedom from suffering. Now breathe in, taking in the suffering and distress of all the people here in this pyramid. We all have our stories. We've come up through a hard road. And breathe it out, directing release from suffering toward everyone here. This circle, all of our stories, all of our pain, and our freedom, our release from pain. And now breathe in, taking in the suffering and distress of everyone in this town. People are having a really hard time, their own personal hells. And breathe out, directing release from suffering toward everyone here in this town. So many stories. And over the next series of breaths, expand your care to include all beings. Take in their suffering and distress. And breathe out, release, and freedom from suffering. And direct it out to all beings. Breathing the mantra, may all beings be released from suffering. May all beings be happy. Any resistances within you, any place where your heart gets snagged, just accept it and release that with each breath. Breathing the cycle of life. And now focus on one being among all sentient beings, yourself. Take in your own suffering and distress and breathe out freedom from suffering, directing it toward yourself. You have this capacity. You can be free. Breathing the freest expression of yourself, liberated from the wheel of karma, from the incessant cycles of suffering. And as you breathe out, from your free perspective, embrace and feel your vitality and your humanity. What a blessing to be in these precious human bodies at this time on planet Earth. breathing the cycle of life. As a final step in this compassionate exchange, notice that you and all the people and all the beings you've imagined arise in the awareness of the One. Feel the witness. As you continue to breathe, notice that this witness is present not just in you, but also in all others. We breathe together as one. And now conclude your meditation. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. We are all in this together. Whether we are building a community or a family or a relationship or a movement, we will only make it if we can hold one another with our compassionate heart. It is my wish that these practices today have served you and that they will serve you in the future. They are practices. It means you get to practice them. And I want to thank you all for the light you bring and for this new world that we're co-creating.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becca. All of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.